The Edge of Innovation with InSource, the podcast that takes you on a thrilling ride through the world of digital transformation. Our first episode is so full of great conversation that we actually had to split it into two. In our chat with InSource's Brian Premock and Ted Fluehr, we caught up on the great improvements and updates that have been made to AVEVA's Operations Control 2023 R2 release. So let's jump right in. To introduce Ted Fluehr, he is one of our great solutions architects here at InSource, and he's got all that technical knowledge that we're gonna pick his brain and learn more about the technical side of this release. And then we've also got Brian Premock, Vice President here at InSource, and Brian's going to explain to us the commercial impact, the impact on the licensing models and things of that nature. So with that, I'd like to welcome you guys. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having us, Katie.
Our pleasure.
All right. So before we jump in, real quick, I know you guys have both been with InSource for a long time. Brian, you and I are the same class, so to speak. If you guys want to just kind of tell us how long you've been with us and maybe a little bit about your background.
Sure, I'll start. As you mentioned, I'm Vice President, General Manager. I also have the job of the Offering Manager for SCADA here at InSource. I've been here 15 years in our headquarters in Richmond. And, I've been doing SCADA, believe it or not, 30 plus years. I've been in industrial automation in some form or factor my entire career. So a little history and background about me.
So you started when you were 12 is what you're saying?
Pretty much. Yeah, you can see it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's no wrinkles on this face.
Ted?
Ted Fluehr, I'm a solutions architect, as Katie mentioned, out of the Baltimore, Maryland office. Been with InSource coming up on 20 years. I think it's 19 years now. So it's been a fun run, seeing all kinds of different things out there. Great technology to play with every day. Before that, I was doing systems integration projects. So I was an end user. I was a user of the Wonderware stack and applying those systems into what are our customers today. So it's been a fun run.
Great. Thanks, guys. All right, well, let's just jump into it then. As we said, AVEVA's announced the Operations Control R2 release. So my first question is obvious. What's Ops Control? What does Operations Control mean?
Ted, let me take that one. So I love AVEVA. They love to put lots of names on their products. The simplest way I explain to people is Operations Control is their SCADA portfolio. And if you've been around as long as I have, it's the Wonderware let's say part of the portfolio, the venerable InTouch that goes back to, the late 80s, early 90s, and System Platform and Historian. And then they added to it several of the other SCADAs that they had acquired, either they acquired or Schneider Electric acquired. And they're all bundled together and called Operations Control. The funny thing is there's also a commercial model for Operations Control. So not to confuse the two. And that Operations Control in that context means a way for customers just to use unlimited SCADA, and you pay by the user for that. So we'll talk a little bit more about that further in the podcast, I'm sure, but that's kind of what Operations Control means to me.
Yeah. So Brian, with that, the unlimited user, which means, unlimited software with you pay by the user, means that you can have architectural freedom there. You can put software anywhere you want. You can install multiple Galaxies, multiple Historians, unlimited client sessions installed, and you're paying by that user. So it really gives you some great architectural freedom putting systems together, from my perspective.
Yeah. And I think what I would go, and I think we're going to talk a little bit about what if people are saying, well, what is a subscription? AVEVA calls that Flex, and it's been out since 2017. So we're in the 7th year of Flex, believe it or not. And I like where it's going. You mentioned, the idea of getting just unlimited InTouch, unlimited System Platform, unlimited Historian, you can pay for that by user, is taking a page from the Microsoft playbook. If you've got an enterprise Office 365 subscription, that's what your IT group is doing right now, and that's where they're getting it from. And that can make a lot of sense. We've had a lot of customers migrate over to that, I'd say, in the last 2 years. And then you can also just have a subscription where you can just pay a certain amount of money and just get something like unlimited InTouch or unlimited Historian. So both of those models exist. And quite frankly, the majority of the way we quote right now, because of that flexibility, is using this concept of AVEVA Flex subscription.
We had a customer recently who just wanted to add some clients, and we gave them a quote to how much it's going to cost to add those additional clients to the system. And we looked at that, and we also looked, well, let's look at these flex bundles where there's these unlimited servers and this operations control where you're paying by users. And we did some math, and, it worked out very well that, they went that direction where instead of buying the a la carte mode like we had in the past in the perpetual model with these flex and operations control bundles, it made much more sense for them to be able to go that way and give them the unlimited stack of our software available to us, plus other features available that weren't available just in the a la carte mode.
So one of the things I was going to ask, but you guys already touched on it, was, everything's become a subscription model these days. It sounds like this is one of those things. But one of the things that AVEVA and before them Wonderware was known for was things like InTouch as an HMI. And it is, award winning. It was the first HMI available for Windows. We know all of this. And you guys do this all the time, but can you tell me about the changes we're seeing in InTouch with this release?
Yeah, so the new release, 2023 R2 release, something that's really exciting is something called UDTs, user-defined data types. Anybody that knows what system platform is and application server, we can build an object and make instance of that object. We can do the same thing now inside of InTouch. We'll make this UDT and we add the components. Let's say we want to model a motor or model a piece of equipment. We can model that in one structure, and then we make instances of that. And then if we want to change that structure, we want to add some new components to it, we want to add a amp signal or a kilowatt signal, we add it to the master, and it gets propagated down to all its descendants from there. Nowadays, PLCs have this capability of adding these UDTs, user-defined data types. We can model, make those two things link up, make them look exactly the same. So when you add a new piece of equipment or you add a new device, you can link those things directly up without having to create individual tags like we had to in the past. So it makes it more of like an object-oriented approach like we have in system platforms. So I'm really excited about that. Something called scalable vector graphics. We could take graphics developed in some other third-party tool like Adobe Illustrator or SolidWorks and bring them into InTouch and then add animations to those to really make your graphics snap and see some really nice looking graphics, some 3D type looking graphics inside of InTouch. The other thing isn't necessarily new with this release, but it's enhanced is InTouch Web. InTouch has been around, web has been around for a little bit, but a lot of new features, a lot more capabilities in the web browser. So you can have that low footprint, web-based InTouch application, develop in the same set of tools you develop your master InTouch application in, and then make it available in the web. Maybe a kiosk out there on the plant floor, just sitting on a monitor. Great use case there. Ability to bring in OPC UA tags, automatically build tags from browsing into OPC data stores and bringing that data in. Whole new interface, much more efficient workflow within InTouch. So great new content within InTouch nowadays. It's a lot of new developments going into InTouch.
Great. And then Brian, I heard that there's an exciting new announcement on the commercial side that you want to talk about. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we heard about it. We usually start our year off with AVEVA in February, and there's a sales and marketing conference, and they started hinting around about InTouch. Remember, InTouch goes back to 1990. It was the first platform on Windows. Usually when people talk about Wonderware or they used to use Wonderware, InTouch is what they're talking about. And this product is really just gotten better over time and simple, easy to use. People gravitate toward it. Way back in the day, it used to make engineers literally heroes on the plant floor, getting stuff done quickly and easily, lots of refined tools, right? And there's like over 800,000. I hear numbers from AVEVA, 800,000 and 900,000 users. Might be even bigger if you start to look at some of the OEMs that have used InTouch on top of their product over the years. And what's really cool is 2 weeks ago, they made it official. There is a new offer for InTouch. It's called Unlimited InTouch. And we're putting our pricing out there. So Unlimited InTouch, which is basically a server-based license, as many clients as you want on it, plus you can add redundancy to it, and a 5,000 tag historian is $20,000. And that can be purchased perpetually. You can add support to that. Many people out there know and have talked about Ignition for years. I've been watching Ignition since they started back in 2010 when they came out of the systems integrator called Calmetrics out there near Sacramento. And, kudos to them. They've thrown down the gauntlet. They challenged the industry. But now you have somebody with the size and scope of AVEVA who's backed by Schneider Electric who's saying, okay, we hear you, and that's what the market wants. So this $20,000 offer is available immediately, and they push the ante a little bit because if you've ever used Ignition, it's a very interesting product. They have a SQL data logger, and in the portfolio and operations control, there were some products like SciTech that did that many years ago. But using SQL for historian, as many know, really causes you to get a very, very large database and response times suffer. AVEVA is putting in their process historian. So this is a native historian, high speed, very efficient in its data storage, and they're throwing that into that offer for $20,000 for this solution. So that you can go out now, you can go out to the AVEVA's landing page and you can verify what I'm saying because they're publishing pricing for the first time. And we're very excited to see how this lands with our user community.
That's awesome. I mean, that's a direct response from what we've been hearing from users for years, right? Is that they want something a little more competitive with Ignition. They love their InTouch.
Yeah.
And then I think this will help either bring them back or keep them going, because it's one of those things where, we're doing right by the customer for sure.
Yeah. And in fact, you can go out there right now and you can download it for free. You can play with it. That's another change, which is really cool. I think when people see the power of InTouch, when you got 900,000 users out there, and you have all these people making suggestions, this has created a really refined tool set. So a lot of stuff that is cool, that's needed in projects, is really built into the product, and that's what makes it so easy to use. So I'm excited for the second coming of InTouch, and we'll see where it goes.
Thanks for tuning in to part 1. Be sure to check out part 2 to hear even more about the innovative ways AVEVA's Operations Control has been updated. And until next time, stay on the edge of innovation.